Anneke, Monique, Eric, setting out for the sisterly trip of a lifetime. The idea was obviously for an adventurous holiday. You found yourselves in Honduras, day 6. This is when the accident happened. Start the beginning of that day through till the time it happened.
We did the sightseeing in the morning, and then in the afternoon we were doing the optional extra, and we chose the zip lining. You just pretty much go from one tree on one sort of mountain to a tree on the other one, and the zip line was 1 kilometre long. We'd been on a couple shorter ones, and I'd been before Monique every single time, and they'd said at the beginning, before I hopped on there, they said, look, you know, because it's a big one, you'll be going fast, put 2 hands on because you'll need the extra weight to slow down. And so I went to put the second hand on, and the safety, which is just like another rope with one of those rock
carabiner.
Yeah, and it got stuck sort of underneath the glove, so it was sort of glove metal, so obviously not allowed, it wasn't going to slow me down, so I was sort of trying to, you know, while you're going really fast on the metal, trying to flick it out of the way, and then eventually by the time I got it out of the way, and I did get it out of the way, but I was just so close, and I think I did slow down a little bit, but by that stage I was just like, oh well, you know, it can't be dangerous because, you know, why would they take us to something like this?
So as you were coming down, you had both hands on the thing, the carabiner is stuck on the wire, and you've gone feet first
into the tree.
Directly
into the
as
tree.
brakes.
Yeah.
Monique, what were you thinking at this point?
I thought initially, oh yeah, she's going really fast. And then when she hit the tree, I just saw the colour completely drain from her body in about 1 second flat. And she kind of went limp in the harness, and because she let go of the wire, like she kind of spun around a little bit. And that's when I saw everything, bone, muscle, everything was hanging out.
It didn't sort of feel my foot straight away. It was like my pelvis and my hips, which I sort of had the main pain from. And I tried to sit up, and I sort of looked up, and I could see like my skin with the bones sort of jagged out, and my foot just literally like that.
Monique, what was going through your mind at the time? We've just got to get her down, we've got to get her to help, but we're here in the middle of the jungle.
Well, we're in the middle of the jungle, and we had like 2 choices, and that was either to get help to her or to get her to help. And she was losing a huge amount of blood from her foot, so the option of getting help to her was not really a very good one because she would have bled to death.
There was no mobiles, they couldn't get helicopters up there, there was no way, couldn't get a car up there, there was no way of getting me down except for by picking me up and putting me on 2 more zip lines.
No one was there with first aid training. They've zip-trekked you out of the jungle, put you in a 4-wheel drive and started driving you out of where you were. Monique, at this point, you need to speak to someone, and you need to speak to someone really quickly because this is going downhill.
Yeah. Our tour guide was still there at the time. They called us, which was fantastic.
And Cover-More are also sort of talking to the doctors as well.
In this case, our medical consultant for customer care spoke with the doctor looking after Anneke. Fractured pelvises can be relatively minor conditions, or they can be acutely life-threatening. And his decision was that the fractured pelvis was not likely to be life-threatening, but her leg injury was likely to be limb-threatening. One of the things our doctor assessed when he spoke with the treating doctor in Honduras was that the level of care she was getting wasn't what we would consider adequate for giving her the best chance of limb salvage. We looked at alternatives where to transport her. The United States was clearly the appropriate place for her to go, and within the United States we chose Miami because it happened to have the shortest flying time from where she was in Honduras. The next step is to find an appropriate air ambulance company. To do that, you need to be concerned not just about cost and speed, but also about whether the air ambulance company fulfills obligations with regards to making sure their aircraft are safe, making sure the medical escorts on board the aircraft have appropriate levels of skills and training, making sure the appropriate equipment on board the aircraft. So we sourced an air ambulance company out of Miami in Florida. We then looked at our international network of hospitals and decided on what the hospital we thought was most appropriate for her. Both Anneke and her sister needed visas before they'd be allowed in America. When we transported her mother from Germany to America, we needed to organise visas for her as well. We need to organise ground transport at either end, we need to organise the hospitals at either end. So there's a lot of factors involved rather than just ringing an air ambulance company saying, come and pick up our patient.
Monique, Cover-More obviously had Anneke covered. She was the one who was injured.
Yeah.
But they also looked after you as well as the carer.
Yeah, it was really good. They put me in a lovely hotel for a while Anneke was in hospital. which was great because when I was spending, literally 16 hours a day at the hospital, it was nice to come home and have my good night's sleep in a nice hotel. It also covered things like cab fares to the hospital, which was just one extra thing that I didn't have to worry about. I was in a strange city, I'd never been to Miami, so it was great to just be able to call a cab and know that insurance was going to cover things like that. It just made it so much easier.
We're talking airlifts, we're talking a personal medevac team, getting you out of the country and to the States as well, bringing your mum over from Australia to care for you while you're in the hospital for over 7 weeks. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea how much this would have cost if you didn't have Cover-More insurance?
Well, luckily I didn't have to think about that. Cover-More took care of it, came to close to $1 million, and yeah, thank God. I don't know what I would have done without it.
Anneke, you are a travel consultant.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell your clients, not particularly about your situation, but just about insurance in general?
Well, I obviously always offer it and always say, they definitely should get it. A lot of the times it's like they think, oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford it, It's not like whether they can afford it, it's whether your family can afford it if something does happen. Because if I didn't have it, I wouldn't pay for it. My mum would have to, mortgage a house, or, you don't want to think about sort of what you'd have to do to actually get it organised.
We're so glad to have you here. It could have gone terribly wrong. We're really grateful that you are sitting with us today, able to have a laugh about it. Anneke, what would you like to say to Cover-More and customer care?
Well, just a massive, massive thank you to everyone. I know there were a lot of people sort of on board with helping me, and yeah, they saved my life pretty much. So yeah, massive, massive thank you.
Travelling overseas is great, but it sure is comforting to know there's insurers with Cover-More's level of care and expertise just in case the unexpected happens.